Oh, my. Oh, that's my Robin Williams impression. Oh. Thank you, I'll be here all week. Don't forget to try the shrimp. Hello, everybody.
You all look so pretty.
I got this idea. It's a show about robots. But they're in disguise! Look at it! It'll never sell. I'm gonna sit with as much noise and awkwardness as I possibly can. So, there we go. Okay, that's how a professional handles a microphone. I need a bag of chips now. These are kind of sexy. It's very intense. Yes. What's happening now? Has everybody just left? Now we're just gonna stare at each other for a while. Well, let's introduce ourselves. Hi, everyone. I'm Scott McNeil, and I'm a... oh, sorry, wrong meeting. Scott McNeil, and I'm a voice actor.
Scotty, who else is going to be on stage?
Oh, I see how this works now. Ladies and gentlemen, reach deep into your souls and give it up for the one, the only, the man, the legend, the rock himself, Mr. Neil Ross!
Neil.
Wait, I shall kneel
Someone
before
say
Neil.
Neil? I was once working with Rob Paulson and Pat Fraley, and somebody said Neil, and we all kneeled, and Pat said, never name your kid a verb. Anyway, is it my turn to bring somebody out?
I believe it just might be.
There's something vaguely familiar about the guy on the other side of the exit sign. I just can't quite place him. I know I've met him somewhere. Oh, I'm being silly. Ladies and gentlemen, the man without whom we probably would have no Transformers to come to a convention to celebrate, the esteemed voice director of Transformers, G.I. Joe, and innumerable other shows. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Wally Burr.
Wally? Maybe I was a little unclear about this concept of trademark infringement.
I got as much right to wear this goddamn thing as you have.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege it is to be here at what is now the most titanic struggle seen before man or human being as Scott the Animal McNeil goes against Wally the Alligator Burr. It's a left, it's a right, it's a left, a right, two lefts, a right, three rights. It's a knee, it's an elbow, it's an armpit. Ladies and gentlemen, the flames and the smoke, people are leaping out of the gondola. Oh, the humanity, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing the Hindenburg disaster. Never mind. Now, oh no! Actually, it's all a cruel hoax. You've just...
I told you not to put that hat on.
In the midst of a Transformers convention, a Bret Michaels look-alike contest broke out. And I won.
I like.
Fathead.
Now my hair is ruined.
Oh, thank you very much. That was fun. I'm Scott McNeil.
My name is Wally Burr. I'm a legend, just ask me. I would like to state unequivocally, for those who are wondering, Wally Burr does all of his own stunts.
I want to get...
Why am I the one huffing and puffing here?
You're not the only one.
No, these guys spend this time talking about the credits, the background, and so on. I want to show you the truth. Here's the complete list. Mr. McNeil's. And Neil Ross has been around the block too.
Did you remember to list the fact that I was the voice of the Pussycat Theaters? Yeah. I want to make sure you got that one in there.
All right. I've not been doing nothing. Three credits. I'll dig up the rest of them. That's it.
And that concludes our panel. Thank you very much for coming today.
Questions? Oh, thank you. We had fun.
Jesus, I need a gin.
Yeah, no kidding. You'll have to settle for this vodka. Well, this is what is this? Actually, what are we doing for real here? This is how to get into voiceovers, right? Is that okay? Well, my story is I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard and I looked down and there was a matchbook on the pavement with a picture of Michael Bell on it, and it said, "Can you draw my voice? Draw my voice and win a Buick." And that's how I got started. I don't know what your excuse is.
Water, please.
I almost shot water out of my nose when you said that.
Here, you can
That was
help
almost an honest to goodness spit take. Well, if we give it all the secrets away now, we'll have nothing to talk about later. I got started in sort of an oddball way. I mean, I had studied, I'm just going to be oddly sincere for me, had studied theater for a long time, 4 years full-time theatrical academy, learned my Shakespeare, my Ibsen, my Molière, so that I could play them away with the majesty of my voice. So I was unemployed. Another quote that I have to use the most now, I'm doing for a living what I used to get kicked out of school for, you know? People would be like, no one's ever going to want to hear those silly little voices of yours, Scott. Screw them. I have done voices all my life, so I studied and I was, working as an actor, and I thought, well, I do all these voices, I do all sorts of accents, maybe radio commercials. I'll phone and check into that. The concept of doing cartoon work was this dream that was so unattainable to me. I mean, we didn't have an industry in Vancouver at the time. I had wanted ever since I was 12 years old to be a voice actor when I heard Paul Frees as I was walking through my obsessional place of the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. And you hear these amazing stentorian tones, and then I found out that he was also the Pillsbury Doughboy, and I went, doink! I'm not alone. Anyway, I went in for a radio commercial thing. Long story short, I met with Doug Parker, who, if you watch Beast Wars, you would probably better know as Pterosaur, but also did a bunch of casting in the early days of the industry in Vancouver. And so I was talking to him, and I totally bombed in the commercial audition, but, all these voices and characters are shooting out of my ears and out of my nose. And he went, wow, I really wish I'd met you like a week ago. And I'm like, oh wow, thanks. Why? He's like, well, I just finished doing some casting on G.I. Joe. And I was like, yeah, right, what, like the cartoon? He goes, yeah. I went, ooh. Burr? How very interesting. And they were just starting to build an industry in Vancouver, and I was brought in to audition for a show that I will not name that was being directed by a director I will not name, who may be a compadre or a compatriot of yours, who I found terrifying and kind of psychotic, so I went, well, I'm never doing that again. And then they started talking me into coming back in for the New Adventures of He-Man, which I got 4 characters on, and that was back in the days of 65s. And so I've been very fortunate, very lucky. I kind of stumbled into it head first. That was 25 years before the microphone now, man and boy. 10,000 episodes later, I'm still going. Can you believe it? I can't. So that's my story, sad but true.
Should I give you the serious version of my story?
Yes.
All right. Well, I started to do voices and accents compulsively as a child. You know, some kids like to draw pictures, some kids like to play hockey. I like to play hockey too, but I also, anytime I heard an interesting voice or an accent on the radio, I would try to reproduce it, almost compulsively. And then at a certain point, it's a long, involved story, but I became fascinated by radio, in particular disc jockeys and the things that they did. And like Scott, I was the guy who got kicked out of class for doing duck voices during algebra class and was told there's no future in that, you know. And so here I was on the radio, and I would do these various voices periodically, and program directors would call me and go, you know, I love it when you, those little voices you do, they're really funny. Don't do them anymore. And vastly unappreciated in the radio business, and beginning to develop this curiosity. Who are, as Seinfeld would say, these people who voice these cartoon shows? Who are these people who narrate documentaries, who voice commercials, who do radio and television announcers in movies and television shows? And I had a working theory that they were on-camera people who just sort of did this on the side for a couple of extra bucks, which was probably true in some cases. But one glorious day, I'm in the parking lot of KCBQ Radio in San Diego talking to a record promoter named Tony Richland, and he happened to mention a guy named Danny Dark, who was now getting very rich doing ding voiceovers. I said, what did you just say? He said, voiceovers. I said, what? Hoping against hope. What is voiceovers? He said, oh, you know, commercials, cartoons, promos, voiceovers. I said, you mean you could make a living doing that? He said, make a living? Danny Dark lives in a mansion in Beverly Hills. Are you out of your mind? And that was the beginning for me. It took me 10 years to get off my butt and do anything about it, but I went to Los Angeles, did the workshops, trudged around, submitted to agents, was told to forget it. Resubmitted to agents, and finally one agent who later was institutionalized said, yeah, come on in, I'll sign you. And that was the beginning for me.
It's amazing how often mental health issues come up in these discussions.
We get to take the voices on the inside and put them on the outside.
I don't do voices. I have background. Paul Frees was a guy I worked with a lot. Your inspiration.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun to find that on your website. I had Paul Frees in once. I wanted him to do a crazy German scientist. And he stopped me. He said, Wally, I got work to do that does my regular voice tomorrow. I'm doing, he's at Disney. You can still hear him at Disneyland in L.A.
Yeah.
Been gone for a long time, but he was the Pillsbury Doughboy later on. I have a story that relates to that for a second. I've done voices. I started out as an announcer in Chicago. The first character voice I ever did was the Bunny Graph.
Well, the Bunny Graph was a furry costume. Inside of it was a guy with a camera, and he'd take pictures of your children. He went around the block. So
Seems legit.
So I thought this would be a fascinating voice for the,
I don't know, what do you call that?
Adenoid.
Adenoid, thank you very much. I don't have them anymore. But
You can add a noid, you can subtract a noid. But
so that was the first interest in it. But basically I was an announcer with an occasional character voice. I came, eventually ended up at Hanna-Barbera because I had been doing direction of commercials using the Hanna-Barbera characters and a lot of the Kellogg characters, Sugar Pops, Pete, those things. Bill Hanna knew I could direct voices. He wanted me to start a commercial division. I couldn't get it going because art directors at ad agencies want very precious, very interesting, very intricate stuff. Fred Flintstone walking along in a headshot with his mouth flapping is not that fascinating. So I couldn't sell the commercial division of Hanna-Barbera for sour grapes. I said, hey, you've seen me voice direct, can I do shows? And I started doing it. One of the first ones I got was a Flintstones with Harvey Korman playing, what was the character?
The Great Gazoo.
Oh, yes, the Great Gazoo. That night, his wife was going to have a baby, and I remember him going to the phone to check at the hospital, and I got him a cell of his character. Those are great memories of contacts of people. You saw them once, maybe they were famous, maybe they weren't, maybe they became famous later. Moments that, going back to Pillsbury Doughboy, that was Leo Burnett Company, had the Pillsbury. I was talking with a guy that, well, I'm mass backing the story. I'll back-ass the story. I asked him about, I left Burnett and went to Hanna-Barbera, and I said, what happened after you were working alone at Burnett? He said, well, I was promoted, or rather moved over to the Pillsbury account. He said, one morning I was working at home, preparing for a meeting, and I had one of those little cylinders of dough, and I cracked it open, and that's a good voice, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The dough came out, and he said, you know, all know what stop motion is? Sometimes called stop action. It's not what it's called. It's called stop motion. Claymation is stop motion. In any case, he said that'd make a great stop motion character. Well, obviously, the rest of the thing is history. The Pillsbury Doughboy is probably one of the most famous product symbols in the world, and it is Pillsbury's symbol, more important than the word Pillsbury. And he came up with this, and we got to talking about airplanes. I never learned to fly, but I've always been fascinated. I like to go up and look inside and look at and take a ride and hitch a ride and so on. I've done a lot of it. In any case, I said, you were flying? He said, yeah, I actually, after I became head of the television, you became head of the television department, Leo Burnett? Wow, what a job. He said, yeah, they rewarded me rather, the Pillsbury thing kind of boosted me along. He said, I said, you got into aviation? I said, what'd you have, a Cessna 152? That's a small 2-passenger light plane. I thought, no, he'd say a 172. That's a 4-passenger Cessna. He said, no, I had a twin-engine Cessna. That's the kind of reward that Leo Burnett Company and most ad agents give people who come up with the big ideas. A guy who did The Green Giant, I was at the recording session for Ho, Ho, Ho in Chicago. Those are the great moments for a guy who's on the production side. People who are on the performing side have also the great moments. You're being inspired by Paul Frees. I worked with him. Danny Dark, you just mentioned, who's long been gone, was Superman in what?
Super Friends.
Oh, that show too, yes, in Super Friends. And I tried to get Danny to not go into a vibrato. He'd go up, up, and away. I said, you're not a tenor, an Italian tenor. You're just a hero. Straighten, at least lose the vibrato, please. So that's the side of the thing that's fascinating to me, is working with the actors. And Danny never lost it. And I began to say, you know, this show's more fun if we camp it up a little bit. We had the Wonder Twins. One of them created water or was water and could do this, that, and the other thing. And every time we get through with a take on it, everybody goes, oh, God, this is awful. And that's what is funny about the show. And Joe Barbera thought we were doing an action-adventure show with Superman and Batman and all those characters. And I was having, not that I created it, it evolved into being kind of a camp funny show. And we knew that the twins were silly. And we're making fun of the genre. And that evolved not because I said, hey, we need to do it, but because it was fun to do it, kind of do it sneakily. And I think Barbera began to say, you know, that's funny. And we felt it was funny right from the words go. So that's the production side of the great experiences. I had one more. What was it about Mike Bell? Mike Bell was kind of a shock, he still is, a shock actor. He likes to say strange and exciting, and a little bit like Howard Stern in the cartoon business. Shocking language occasionally, and a very funny guy, a very inventive guy. That's the side of being on this side of the glass. And once in a while, stepping in, I did jazz actor.
Scatman Crothers.
He knows all the names. I don't.
My whole function this weekend has been remembering names Wally can't think of. I pulled some names out this morning I didn't even remember.
He and I sat and had dinner last night and spent 45 minutes of do you remember and what was his first name? What was his last name? Who are you talking about? So it's.
You're lucky you missed it. Are we going to take questions? Or
I think we should.
Okay. If anybody has a question.
What's the definition of zeitgeist?
Okay. I don't have it memorized. It's a word I use. It's sort of the
What was the question?
What is the definition of zeitgeist?
Oh,
A zeitgeist?
Because actually I can give you the definition of a fugue. A polyphonic composition on one or more short themes, contrapuntally harmonized and introduced from time to time. I sometimes talk about how shows or movies or what have you are perfect for the zeitgeist of a time, and then 10 years later they become absurd and embarrassing. Zeitgeist is a German word that essentially means the overall prevailing socio-economic climate of any given period.
oh, Jesus.
I hope I handled that question well. Do you have anything to add?
To the zeitgeist of
Yes.
this current moment? I do not. Well, actually, you know what? Wally and I used to get into confrontations over verbiage, over vocabulary.
Right.
Because I remember you would have with all of your notes.
What's vocabulary mean?
Means words, Wally.
Oh, okay.
Did he ever ask you for angst?
Yes.
He would ask us for angst, and half the cast
I
would
told
run
you
out,
not to bring that up, goddammit.
would be out in the lobby looking at the dictionary. Like,
We got-
what does he want?
What is it? That's the angst right there. Is trying to find the
I
word.
had it on the billboard, more angst in the next show, and you mocked me.
Wally always would put all sorts of wonderful notes in the margins of the scripts. And we got into a big discussion about the meaning of eldritch once. And it became this thing with Wally and I. We were working in two different countries, so
What
mostly
about elder
phone.
abuse?
That'll come later, Wally.
Stick around.
After the youth in Asia. My greatest moment, my little moment of triumph, my coming of age, I think, moment, involves you. Because we would get into these things all the time over the phone of, it'd be like, okay, McNeil, you know what this word means? It's like, it's a word that actually has come back in a little bit, but I was flipping through a book called Words by Paul Dixon, because I'm interested in words. And I found this really weird one, and it stuck in my head, and I went, there's a word that hasn't been used in 700 years. Bum, ba, ba. The very next day, it came up somehow in a session, and you hear this big old thing. All right, McNeil, here's a word you probably know, merkin. And I went,
do.
oh my Lord.
A merkin
How do
is,
you know what a merkin is?
a merkin is somebody south of the border, right?
Exactly, we're
I'm a
Canadian, they're
merkin.
Merkins.
He's a merkin.
So I got to I got to very casually in conversation. It was like, oh, you mean the rare and obscure 13th century pubic wig? Yes. And on we went, and you couldn't see me. I was fist bumping like a mofo in there. Yes, victory. And I just worked the word merkin into a panel now.
That's 25 years back, and I knew Merkin very well.
Now Wally sells his own line of merkins.
Yeah, he knew merkin. Believe me, you're no merkin.
That goes back to Northwestern Theater 101, in which you learned the Elizabethan costuming. Goddamn, that's straight.
You studied Shakespeare. Give me alarums and excursions.
Diverse
got that.
alarums.
I threw out Moliere at another panel. Nobody laughed. I wish to God you'd been there.
I would have been the one guy. Moliere, I love that guy.
Moliere bit.
He was mostly physical.
This reminds me of the expression, so many degrees apart. What's your name?
I'll think of it in a minute.
Let me see some ID. We sat and did old time, and we have seen each other from time to time. We've seen each other at memorials for fellow people in the industry, and seen each other socially. But it just the business of that mention, aside from the fact that Merkin is a little bit, it was at one time something you
Yes.
didn't say out loud, which is stupid. We connect on these levels and bringing that. I did a show with him where I had my feet on my desk in Burbank and was talking to these guys in Vancouver, and they're snickering behind their back.
It's because we could hear the clinking of the ice in your scotch glass, Wally. It was out, he's sitting there in his boxer shorts in a lounge chair.
No, I was actually nude.
That's what we actually figured. I didn't want to go
The
there.
first nude voiceover I ever did.
Well, you know, in the old days, we all had to be in the same place, and he could look through the glass at us, we could look through the glass at him. Now, a lot of the sessions happen from remote locations. Some guy in Timbuktu is directing somebody in Oshkosh, and nobody can see each other, so the director is giving notes, and the actor is going, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I absolutely get it. No, I'll be happy to try that. No problem. I mean,
Norm and Mike's are brilliant for like utilizing them as a speed bag while you're politely going, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, Wally. Poopity.
And I recently was told that Hasbro's going to do some shows in Vancouver, and I kind of said, oh, shit. The last time this came up was 25 years ago, and they said, we're a little tired of putting you on an airplane, paying per diem to you, putting in a nice hotel in Vancouver, which is a wonderful city to eat well in. And I said, I don't have to go up there. It's audio. I can do it with my feet on my desk in Burbank. And they said, what are you smoking? And I said, I'm not smoking anything. It's the truth, really. If they can hear me, I can hear them, we can communicate, and I did 120 shows. Bucky O'Hare,
Yep.
he was in as the character. Eddie, how many Bucky O'Hares know?
I'm always surprised.
Yeah.
Let's get in there and karaoke some toads.
How many people are aware of Conan as a series?
Okay, check this out, Wally.
Yeah.
Check this out. Chris, hold it up. It's out on DVD.
That was a fun show. That was 65.
Yep.
As they say, I got 65.
That was my first
Thank
significant
you.
bad
You're giving
guy.
me this? No. Oh.
he's loaning.
You want to pay me?
CDs and tapes are available in the lobby for $15.
Well, anyway, if there are questions, there's an attractive lady here with a microphone.
And I'm here too.
And she will,
What's this?
I have no clue.
That was up here
Yesterday
yesterday, and I'm
somebody called me
scared
a
to push
nasty
that
word,
button.
For
I
the
think
sake
it brings down the steel dampers and pumps in the
I
gas.
think if you push the green button, I fly up into the ceiling, but
All right, here
I
we
want
go.
to see that. Yeah, do it. For the
This
sake
is
of brevity, though, I'm not sure how long this.
Intercom, I guess.
All right, time now is 1:35.
We're going till we're done.
Technically, you have about 25 minutes. I'm sure that everybody can come up with intelligent, relevant, fantastically awesome questions.
So we
that
just
will-
the answers that'll be
Yeah.
lousy, but okay.
But for the sake of brevity, try to limit it to 2. You can do a question, a follow-up, that's beautiful, but if you've got 27 of them in a row, you're gonna get some very nasty looks. And I am an American.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question regarding for Neil, because I know you voiced Six Shot, and I don't know much about, shooting ducks in a barrel, stuff like that. Have you ever thought, like, since it's Six Shot, he has 6 vehicles mode, maybe make 6 voices, one for each alternate mode, possibly?
Well, as long as I get 6 checks. No, it's nobody's asked. If they asked me to do that, I would do that. But that's not really my call. But that's a good idea. I don't even remember the one voice he had, and that's the truth. He did. He wasn't in that many episodes. Do
I
you
think
remember?
he only had, like, a couple lines in,
Yeah.
like, the last episode.
There were a couple of characters I did that didn't last that long, and they're lost in the mists of time.
You sometimes did one line, somebody suddenly showed up in the script. Oh, you do it.
Yep.
Did you remember doing it?
No.
Why did you do it so sadly?
It's 3 years later in the series, all of a sudden it becomes a pivotal main character. You're like, maybe I shouldn't have made him suck so bad.
And the first thing they told me was don't make a lot of movement on the stage while somebody else is talking, and I excused myself for doing that.
That's all right. I was so riveting, no one noticed you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
My question is for all of you. It's in regards to ad-libbing. When the director would ask the actors to ad-lib for a scene, how difficult is it for you to get them to stop, and how far do you guys go to drive the director insane?
You pretty much just answered all of your own question right there. You really did.
It depends on the show, it depends on the director, and it depends on the cast.
Yeah.
Some of you may remember there was an animated version of The Mask. And Rob Paulson played the lead character, and he ad-libbed some of the most brilliant stuff, and most of it made it into the show. He would do paragraph-long stuff where he was changing voice sentence by sentence, changing speed and tempo, ad-libbing stuff that wasn't in the script. Frequently, he would finish a speech and the entire cast would just stand up and applaud. It was so damn brilliant. But we had a director that was open to it, and it was the kind of silly show that called for it. Other directors would not have been as forgiving, and certain shows, it wouldn't work. So it really depends on the show and the actor.
Yeah.
And the director.
I've read articles written by comedy directors or comedy writers work very hard, and they don't want you to move the comma from here to there. They don't want you to substitute a word that sounds like a perfect synonym. Stick with the fucking script. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But no,
I don't remember that show. Did I read for that?
no, because you were always ad-libbing.
Oh.
But the writing is key, and sometimes you better stick with it. And other times, if the production staff, the director included, the producer, are open to it, hey, we want your input. Yeah, fool around. There's time to do it. Sometimes there isn't time to do it. We'd love to do it. We're not going to do it. You know, so many different circumstances.
What usually happens is that's really funny. Save that, but then do another one as written, and they, whoever the hell they are,
Yeah,
in New
make
York,
that
will make the
choice.
decision. We were talking at breakfast about how the S word got into the Transformers movie, and nobody can really remember, but we think what happened was somebody said it as a joke. Everybody laughed. Wally said, okay, fine, now do the line as written, please. But it was on tape. It got back to New York. Somebody said, this is actually kind of funny. Put it in. And somebody said, what the hell? Leave it in.
It'll make the picture an R picture because it's got that in at one place.
That makes it more desirable. Sometimes you get a chance. I mean, you will work with. There are times where it is absolutely required to adhere to each and every dot and cross in the script. Sometimes you do have, like, I will cite Beast Wars because why not? Some of the character development as it happened throughout the series was done because, and Larry and Bob were usually up for these sessions, and they were the ones that created the whole storyline and the whole arc. As we were trying to, in the first couple of episodes, trying to define these characters, what they were, it was from them letting us, like Waspinator was originally a very serious villain. And then they met me and went, oh God, let's just make him an idiot. So sometimes you get into this vortex of creativity where everything comes into play, and then it works very well. Reboot was something that, if anybody remembers Reboot. How's that for shameless? They would let Gary and I, as Hack and Slash, we would do one pass as per script, and that was just usually as a courtesy. And then they would just open up both mics and go. Okay, that was brilliant. Do something else. Okay, do something else. And 98% of the things you see Hack and Slash doing was them just allowing Gary and I to, be idiots together. It wouldn't work in all shows, but it works on that one.
I still will go back to preparation is the essence of good production. If you go into something saying, let's just wing it, it'll fall apart usually. We did a little rehearsal of this stupid thing with the hats. We talked it through.
In the bar, we got thrown out, and then we came here.
And don't crosstalk when I'm pleased. I'm serious. Who did that? Anybody know?
Really?
Yes. Jack Benny. Hey, that didn't go anyplace. No.
It shows the age difference now.
Huh?
It shows the generation gap right now.
What'd she say?
She said she loves you and she wants to have your children.
What was the joke? No, serious. I didn't hear it, that's all. Look, too much in the booth. What was it?
Okay, next question. We are not running out of time because I'd like to extend this a little bit since we started late, but we got a line, so.
We'll be good.
We'll be less verbose.
It's not you I'm worried about.
Should be.
All right, hello guys. First of all, I'd just like to say it's an honor to be in the presence of such legends like yourselves. Am I right, people?
Do you hear that? We're legends.
Anyway, my question is, Scott, Neil, have either of you ever thought about returning to Hasbro to do voice work for other Transformers shows and video games?
Have we? It's not. It was funny. Hi, Hasbro. Listen, we're interested in coming back on board. What do you say? Hello? Hello? People have come up and said, why didn't you do voice work in the movies? It's like, well, shit, I'd say yes if they asked me. Business sort of unfortunately doesn't work that way. It would be awesome if it did.
As the good book says, many are called, but few are chosen. You kind of have to be asked.
Yeah.
You can't just show up and say, well, I'm ready now. Mark Evanier, who's another writer-director, has this wonderful thing on his website where he does this imaginary thing of you, the reader, calling Steven Spielberg's office from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, saying you're ready to be a movie star now. What's the next step? Followed by click.
It's the nature of the business and stuff. When Transformers animated, it was like, I'm sorry, Waspinator is being voiced by who? SpongeBob? Waspinator, no want to live in pineapple under the sea. But it is the nature of the beast. As I said the other day, it's like, we are, by essence, basically polyphonic prostitutes. We will make sounds for money, and if somebody says, hey, we'd like to give you a bunch of money to make that sound again, I think most of us would probably say yes. You hear that, Spielberg?
All right, thank you very much.
Hi, gentlemen.
Hello.
Just in follow-up to that actual question, then what is the best method to learn of opportunities in voice acting?
To learn what?
To learn of opportunities in voice acting outside of invitation.
Learn of opportunity. Well, I don't know how it works in Canada. What worked for me, 99% of it was my agent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what the agent is for. People think your agent gets you work. Once in a while they do, but 98% of the time your agent gets you the opportunity to get work. He gets you to the, or she gets you to the audition.
He's the funnel through which all the work flows.
And so the key for me was the agent. I don't know about you, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
in the interim, it's like the old joke of the man who stops the old lady on the street in New York and says, excuse me, can you tell me how to get to Carnegie Hall? And she says, practice, darling, practice. You can work alone. You can buy a cheap little tape recorder and you can practice, and listen back. Now, obviously, you need someone to maybe help you, and then you try to reach out, find out what people are amenable to maybe coaching, if there's any kind of workshops happening in your area, any kind of voiceover workshops. My God, anything you can do. If it's the Greyhound bus depot and you're going, bus now leaving on track 7, it's all experience. Community
Books for
theater.
the blind.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, anything like that. You just got to work it, because it's tougher than it appears. It's, I always use these dumb sports analogies, but it's like you watch people play tennis and you go, well, that looks pretty simple. And then you pick the racket up, hit the ball, and it goes straight up in the air. And then you say, well, all right, I'll aim it, and now it goes into the dirt. And you suddenly realize playing tennis is a damn difficult thing to do. Well, voiceovers, same thing. Yeah. It appears easy. It's not.
I think a lot of the Hollywood celebrities kind of...
To use the most productive tools is any recorder. Record and play back, record and play back. You can, if you got an ear, if you don't have an ear, get out of the business. If you have an ear, you can critique your own work. You know when it's slow, not clear, or you're not understanding the message you're supposed to be delivering, whether it's narration or a character or whatever. There's some purpose in the line you just did. What's the purpose? Think about it. Don't just read what's on a piece of paper. You have to know, you have to focus on what you're being asked to say. Why? What's its purpose in the plot? That's the reason you're saying it in a given way, which is what the director is trying to get you to do. But there's a reason for it. And the more you've worked with $20 Radio Shack hand recorder, it doesn't have to be high quality, just something you can hear yourself on. And as I say, if you have an ear, If you don't, get out of the business. If you have one, you can tell when you're doing a bad job.
Now, everything Wally just said came across with perfect sincerity and believability. Why? Because he was thinking about what he was saying. If I were to have recorded everything Wally just said, typed it out, and handed it to somebody to read, he would come, "What you need to do is get a Radio Shack tape recorder." Because they wouldn't have the thought behind it. That's the trick. You have to dig the thought out of that sterile sentence on the page.
Yeah, I'll addend on this a little bit. I meet a lot of people in the anime. People want to become voice actors. I go, all right, here's your 2 words, voice actor. If you can do 4,337 different voices, awesome. If you're not this, you're never going to be that. The man I cite is the greatest of them all, Mel Blanc. I will say, never ever created a voice. He always created characters, which is why to this day, in spite of what my therapist tells me, I know that rabbits and ducks can talk. Because he put heart and soul into them. It wasn't just coming up with a mechanical voice. That is all part of the process. But, at its core, even if it's some weird little one line, man in red shirt, it has to have some, if you're, I've been a blob of crime fighting wasabi that never spoke. Just like, you have to make that real and believable. It has to come from some viable place. So I really do stress the acting part of voice acting. There are people who, do one voice. It may even be their voice, but they're really good at it and they work. It's
Character.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of them? Are you in the skin of that role? And
Or
you
the
could
fur.
Pick up Time magazine or whatever. Read copy from just an article. If you can read it intelligently without blowing it, read ahead. I've mentioned this a couple of times, so you do not find yourself stumbling on something that's a little bit of a problem for you phonetically.
Yeah, being able to read is an
anything
asset.
you read it well and learn. Go.
And one other P word, persistence, 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 right?
Dawes Butler everybody knows Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear. Butler started with about 6 years old doing things, and you were talking about everybody who usually is successful started pretty early, started enjoying creating characters. I kind of take it's not the voices, it's the characters, it's the personalities that you're creating.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
At this moment, I'm technically I'm supposed to cut you off, but we started late. This is the 5-minute mark where I'm not allowing anybody else to get in line.
We're going into speed
So if
round
you're working
mode.
up the nerve or if you just thought of something, I'm sorry, your time's up. The guy in the green shirt will be the last question. Fire away.
I'll make anybody in the bar if you want to continue the conversation.
Then you
Very
get the
nice.
real
Good idea.
stories.
How you guys doing? I'm a bit nervous right now.
That's okay, we're a little nervous too.
Where did you start off at? How does one become a voice actor?
This is the question we've been waiting for.
Easy one.
It may actually sort of be the question that we already answered at the very beginning, though, wasn't
I
it?
think we kind of.
Yeah, did you? You
Were you-
probably already answered.
And I
that.
know the answer, but I'm not going to share it.
All right.
Wally created all of us, essentially. He waved his magic wand. Beep, and there we were.
Yeah, I think I pretty much told my story.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just, it was, stumbling into from acting background. It's just, lifelong dream, blah, 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 persistence, persistence, persistence. And if you slow that down and play it back, it's the secret to everything.
And for the kiddywinks in the audience, that was audio tape being rewound.
Let me ask you a question. What have you done if you're interested in this, to say, yeah, I want to move toward it?
I'm so nervous right now. I don't know what to say.
Forget.
Lesson number one,
next.
you can't be nervous in front
I
of a
was nervous
microphone.
coming in here doing the hat thing. We were having fun with that. Everybody's nervous.
Probably have to watch all the Transformers series and come to conventions like this and try
No,
out
but
the
I mean,
voices. Does that help?
have you practiced with a machine that records your voice?
No, I haven't yet. No.
Then start.
Okay.
And I don't know, Scott might be able to answer this. Are there voiceover workshops in Toronto? There must be in Vancouver.
I don't know Toronto per se. I mean, I would imagine there are because there is a certain
Yeah.
amount of dubbing, and I know there is work done in Toronto. Vancouver is a bigger center than Toronto, not as big as. There are workshops done. I teach in Vancouver occasionally. There are a number of people that do. When I started this, even with all my experience as an actor and everything, when I started doing this, I did workshops with Jenny and And you learn a lot from working. I mean, that's sort of the catch-22 of it, is, you know, everything I know now I learned from working. And that's the best way to learn, but...
Second to my agent, the workshops were key for me.
Yeah.
Part of it is you can be absolutely brilliant in your bedroom all alone, but in Burbank at 9 in the morning with 3 producers who don't particularly want to be there, suddenly...
Learn what Valium is.
So in a workshop, you start to get used to working in front of other people without being horribly self-conscious and nervous, and that would
Get some friends of yours who have about the same level of interest, and so you're comfortable working with them, and the 3 over there, 5 of you, whatever. Get a group together, start doing something instead of just thinking about it, hey, that'd be fun.
All right, Brett Michaels, nice to meet you.
Rock on, dude! Because remember, every rose has its thorn. By the way, when I started working in this business 25 years ago, we were working at Little Mountain Studio, which is where all those big albums of the time were recorded. I ran into Brett Michaels, and we were hanging out and goofing around. He stole his look from me. That's true.
Gotta put the hat back on.
We are now at the 1 minute mark.
Right.
Could I ask a kind of obscure question about Beast Wars to Scott?
Yep.
In the episode, in the 2-part episode at the end of season 1, when the Predacons find they're all going to die, like Waspinator says, Waspinator can't die. Waspinator has plans. I laughed really hard, and then I thought, what sort of plans could Waspinator have?
I was gonna go to Fiji, man. Got a plan with my cat. Sorry, completely different show.
Wasn't he going to open a 7-Eleven?
Here, a whole line of nail-polished salons across the country. Waspinators.
I really wanted to get into the falafel business, and that was my game. I have no idea.
Did you notice when you're standing there saying, how did you do? You were using your hands. That's a part of it. He's using his hands.
People are amazed when they come in and watch, if they do, at how physical it is. Like doing the stuff, they're like, oh my God, I thought you guys just stood there. People who come in, and I'll cite myself, because why not? You know, they've come in and watched a Beast Wars session or a session like that, they go, when you change characters, it's weird. Like your face changes, your body changes, everything, because you have to be able to shift gears very instantly, and it's not just a question of going, oh, I'll move my voice to here, I'll move it to here. So, good point, Wally.
Quick point, Wonder Woman in Super Friends. A very pretty lady, had done leading ladies as the character, that's characteristic description of women who are attractive on screen. She came in to read for Wonder Woman, and I was looking for authority. And I finally said, she was in a shirtwaist dress, this is the 60s, very pretty woman. And she's standing there, yes. And I said, put your feet apart, put your hands on your hips, and imagine you're in leotards and it's telling us what the hell's going on. And it gave her the physical side of being an authoritative woman, female officer. Women are taught to be cute and pretty and attractive. And there are lots of times when you're asked in animation to be authoritative. And she became Wonder Woman by virtue of, I think, standing with her feet apart and her hands on her hips and saying, God damn it, I want it done this way.
And that was the first time God damn it was used in the Smurfs.
Right, I was going to ask a question, but someone already beat me to it. But the main thing, come on. When you said you occasionally talk to people through like audio when you're actually directing, and this is to everyone actually, when you're directing, do you guys prefer working in a booth with a director on the other end, or do you prefer the audio? Do you prefer the human contact or just the voice?
The nice thing about the audio is a lot less things get thrown and there's a lot less bloodshed, I find. Mind you, we do have the 3 panes of glass between. I personally like having people there, but even like, I don't know if this is, what I'm finding is happening in Vancouver is we will now have a director in the booth, and then you've still got 9 people on the phone or on Skype weep. You've got clients and producers and all these other people, so every line kind of gets directed and then it gets reviewed by these ethereal voices in the and so it's, I guess, kind of a hybrid of that. I like the old days when we were all in one big room together with the one microphone. No microphone, you just held up the tape and you yelled at it. That's right, tape. So anyway, I like working with.
Sometimes it's helpful to read the body language through the window, although sometimes it's not. Yeah. God, I remember one session, I was very early on, and it was a national commercial, and I'm doing it, and I'm looking through the window, and these two women are doing this. And I can't hear them, but it looks like they're saying, "Who hired this loser? How do we tell him he's awful and get rid of him? And who can we get in
Sounding
here?"
great, Neil.
And finally, at a certain point, they said, "Okay, perfect, we're done. Come out and sign the form." And I talked to the engineer later. I said, "What were they doing?" He said, "They were arguing about what to have for lunch."
Yeah, you can be intimidated by what's going on through the other part of the glass and have no idea what it is. Don't let it bother you. Concentrate on your job.
Oh, that's so true.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So if somebody wanted to have a voiceover career in, say, Los Angeles, would it be wiser for them to try and build up a career in Toronto before flying out all that way and maybe not even getting a good career going?
You got good pipes to begin with, I'll say that.
From you, that means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, that brings your interest to that.
Yeah.
Whether to go to L.A.?
Yeah.
I would work here first.
Okay.
With the internet now, according to my agent, geography is becoming less and less important with the various technologies.
Yeah, I would agree, but then it's also, you do need to be where the work is. I've met people who I thought were very talented and very able, but, it's in the middle of Nebraska someplace, and I'm going, if you really want to pursue this, you do need to be in a center where work is available.
Yeah.
But, you're very wise to have a body of work before you go to the next level, rather than just showing up at the top and going, well, here I am.
I have a friend
to arrive in Los Angeles and say, here is a body of work that I did in Canada, would be a fine thing.
And then once
Other
they
than
finish
I'm
snickering.
this nice Canadian guy who's never done anything. What do you got for me?
I have a friend who lives in Seattle, has a home studio, just nothing but a little niche. He does a disc jockey show in Kansas every afternoon. Nobody in Kansas knows he's in Seattle. He's King, K-I-N-G, TV, big NBC outlet. It is NBC in Seattle, and he's their promo guy. And but he's doing this disc jockey show for people in Kansas. So it's, as he says, it's changing all the time.
I see. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very informative. As stated before, Mr. Burr will help you out if you buy him a drink. This concludes our panel.
Scott McNeil, Neil Ross, and Wally Burr.
I love those guys!
I do too!